So hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Hope you're doing great. In today's video, we'll try to understand function and recursion in Python. In the previous video, we learned about control flow and exception handling and also match statement. And if you haven't watched the video, I would put the link in the description. Please work that out. So in this video, we'll try to understand functions. Without further ado, let's get started. First of all, let's create a new file and let's name it function recursion. So first of all, let's define what is function. So function is basically a block of code written to handle or to perform a particular task. So let's say we want to perform particular tasks. For that, we create a function, and we can use that function in our program wherever we need to execute that task, or wherever we want to perform that particular task. We won't need to write the code over and over again. We just can call the function and execute the task. So that's why we use a function. So let me give you an example of function here. Let's say we want to create a function for greeting. Let's say we want to greet someone in different places in our program. For that, we are defining a function, right? So let's name it greeting, and then we're just printing or just showing the person or whoever you want to greet, hello and welcome to Pro Developer Python course. So this is a simple greeting. You can use this function wherever you like to call it. Let's say I'm calling here, then can call it somewhere else. Like, you can call it as many times as you want. You don't need to write the program over and over again, line by line. So that's the basic purpose of creating functions. I hope you understand the basic purpose and how we can create functions in Python. So there are two main type of functions in Python. Not in Python, in general in programming, there are two main types of functions. So first off, we have built-in functions. These are the functions which are built in, or we can say already present in Python. So these are the built-in functions which are already present in Python. And second one is user-defined. These are the functions which we create for our own purpose, user-created functions. We'll discuss both of these in detail here. So let's first try to understand some of the built-in functions in Python. Okay. So let's say, for example, we have a list. I don't know, a list. Let's take the example of 1, 2, 3. We have 3 elements in our list. Now here, if let's say we want to print this function, the print function is basically a built-in function which we are using to display whatever we want to display. So we can display the above list as passing this list to our built-in print function. So here print is a built-in function, right? So let's run this. Here you can see the list has been printed here. Okay. You can also find the type of the list above. For example, we are now printing type of elist. Type is also a built-in function here. So let me write it function, and it basically tells you the type of variable or your object, whatever you have. So that's the function of type. There are various other built-in functions in Python. You can look up the documentation of Python functions and play around with different type of built-in functions. We'll not dive into that here. Now, moving forward, let's discuss user-defined functions. These are those functions which are defined by user, defined by programmer. These are the functions which we define by ourselves. Let's say we want to create a function to add numbers, right? We want to create a function with just add two numbers. Let's say a, b. Just I'm giving two parameters here, and that function is to return the sum of these two numbers. So it will return a plus b. Now, wherever we want to add any two numbers, we can call this add number function. For example, we are adding 4 and 5. We can call this function and just write 4 and 5 here, and this function will give us the sum of these two functions. So we can now print another as well, add number. Let's give 8 and 9. It will give us the sum of the two numbers, and we can use this function wherever we want just by calling the add number function. So that's how we can define function and that's how we can use functions, different functions in Python, I think. So that's a small introduction to functions. What are different types of function? Just an overview. Hope you got the idea what are functions and how we can uh, create functions and how we can use functions in our program. Now let's move forward and discuss another very important topic, which is recursion. So recursion is also a kind of related to function, therefore I'm discussing that here. So let's first define what is recursion. Recursion is nothing but calling something over and over again. Calling something over and over again. So how we can use recursion or recursive approach to perform or to write some programs in Python. We'll discuss that in detail here. First off, let's take an example here so that it would be easy for us to understand how we can use recursion in programming. Let's take an example of finding factorial using recursion. We'll find factorial of any number using recursion. So let's say we want to uh, create some function which could use recursion method, calling something over and over again to find the factorial of any number. But then let's define a function called factorial, right? And here we'll be passing the number which we want to find the factorial of. And then we need to define the base case, a case which will be the endpoint of the calling, from where the calling will stop, and the calculation of the factorial will start from there. So that base case we need to define here. In case of factorial, the base case would be if n is equals to 0. If n reaches 0, that means we need to return 1. All right, and if that's not the case, we need to return n multiplied by we need to call that factorial recursively, right? So this is the simple way we can calculate factorial of any number using recursion. Now let's call the function, let's say fact is a variable which we will be storing a factorial. Here, let's calculate the factorial of 5 here, and let's print fact. Okay, if we run the program, here you can see 120 has been printed. So that's how factorial works. It recursively calls this function till it reach this condition, and when it reaches this condition, it starts calculating the number which is actually n multiplied by any number which is preceding it, right? So that's how it calculates the factorial of any number. Here are various other examples where you can use recursion to perform different operations for so many other purposes. I would recommend you to practice recursion as much as you can. I think that's all for this video. See you in the next one. Till then, keep learning and keep improving yourself.